Not because Satan is too powerful. He has not found in God that, look, these things I'm looking for, they are an expression, an effulgence of what is available in God. What have you found about yourself? No man can know himself until he knows God. No man can. So how much of God you know defines how much of yourself you know. You don't know what you can do. You don't know. You don't know how powerful you are. You are so powerful, demons are looking for you. So powerful. But you will never know that power until you know the power of God. Every revelation of God to a man, more often than not, is the definition of that man's identity. More often than not, anything God reveals to you, any encounter God gives you, is not. That is why preachers have problems most of the times. We preachers, we hear from God and preach to people and we forget ourselves. Do you get it? So the people believe what you are telling them, and then they go and they are blessed with it, and we are still at the same spot. Pay your tithe, and he, the preacher, is not paying his tithe. Give your offering. I've seen preachers come to the pulpit with empty hands to take offering before. Give offering, and then their hands are empty. They will not give it because you see, they what they found in God that giving makes prosperous. They are only telling people, but every revelation of God, first and foremost, is to you. Is to you. Is to you first before it's to somebody else. Is to you first. So after preaching, I'm on the Facebook to listen to the message. After we preach this message, when it's uploaded now, I'll be on the Facebook to listen to it, and I will listen to it again and again. Why? I am only here trumpeting what God is saying. I am also going to sit back as a congregation to listen to it. That is how you can preach yourself into disaster, because you don't know the things you are talking about. Every revelation of God is a definition of the man to whom is being revealed. Peter captured his identity when he captured Jesus' identity. Matthew chapter 16, verse 15 to 19. Jesus said, whom do men say I am? They talk common of talk. They said, who do you say I am? And Peter said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, upon this rock, he said, thou art Peter. Peter means Petros. It means stone. And he said, upon this rock, the rock of the revelation, not Peter. People say the church is built on Peter. It's not true. If the church was built on Peter, when Peter died, the church should have died. The church can never be built on man. So the church was built on the revelation. The reason Peter found expression as the leader of the church from the first generation was because when he captured his identity, Jesus' identity, it became his own identity. So the rock, which is the revelation of Jesus, became the revelation of Peter. So when you stay in the word and see some things about God, those things more often than not become the definition of your life. That is, no man can know God himself until he knows God. I know who I am. You don't know who you are, because how much of God you know defines how much of you know. You are created in the image of God, and therefore to know you, you must know your source. That is why we keep pressing into God. That is why. Because the more of him I found out, the more of me I found out. Man, I was a chronic stammerer. Maybe people don't know. Stammering. Jesus. That is how I was a stammerer. Oh, but the more, one day they called us to come and do, they call it a drama in church. I was a child, maybe a little older than Joseph. And I said, I am a stammerer. How can I do stage play, for God's sake? Because in the practice, I was stammering terribly. People, Jesus, what is this? But they say, now me now go do am. you go do am? I cried, but they say it's me who do. I don't know. I thought Satan has entered those pastors to to disgrace me in public, because they will do the play in front of the whole church of about 800 people. A little child. They wanted to crush my self-worth. Oh, but on that day, on that Sunday morning, when it was my turn to come out, as I step up on the stage with the mic, that's how I spoke. I didn't know. I did all the play finish, about 15 minutes play. When we went home, my mother said, "You didn't stammer when you were doing this." I said, "It's true." It was from there. It was from there. When I held the mic and wanted to act what we have learned through stammering, then my voice opened up. I began to talk like a parrot. Friends, I was a chronic stammerer. But when I found a play in God to act out, then I have captured my true self. Because in the nature of God for me, my true self doesn't stammer. My true self doesn't stammer. Satan put it there as a hindrance. So anytime you find God, you find yourself. Anytime you find God, you find yourself. There is nothing about you cannot know if only you want to know. And the only way to know about you is to know about God. The more of God you know, the more of you know. The less of God you know, the less of you know. That's how no one believer know himself. That somebody can prostitute. She thinks he's a prostitute or a slave queen. She thinks so. But in the nature of God, she's not a slave queen. She may be a prophetess. You get it? She may be a prophetess. But because she thought she's a slave queen, I'm a slave queen, I'm a prostitute. That's who I am. That's who you are. When that person meets God and begins to follow God, she begins to capture her true self in God. And then she becomes who God has ordained her to be. So you can never know yourself until you know God. We saw it in the book of Joshua when that lady, what's the name of that lady? Jericho prostitute. Rahab. Rahab was the prostitute of Jericho. She was a national prostitute. Maybe the president of Jericho that they also went to visit her business. She was a national prostitute. She was like that because she didn't know God. When Jericho got destroyed and she was taken into Israel, she found herself within the family of God. When she found herself, she became the great grandmother of David, and she became one of the pillars of the lineage of Jesus. Meaning, in the archives of God in creation, she was ordained to be in the lineage of Jesus. But because she didn't know God, she was misusing herself somewhere else, thinking that's who she was. You can never know yourself until you know God. So when we talk about studying the Bible, it's not about to become a preacher. It's not about becoming a pope. It's about finding you. In the world we are lost. We can only find ourselves in the scriptures. You don't know who you are until you know God. The God you know defines your identity. The God you know defines your identity. So there are many people who are lost, properly lost. They are lost. They don't know themselves. They are lost. And they think they know themselves. For instance, if God gives you a gift of singing and you use it to go and sing worldly song, you don't know yourself. Pastor, you are coming again. I'm always here. That matter, I'm always on it. If God gives you the gift of movie acting and you are acting pornography, you don't know yourself. You are using the gift of God and you are abusing it. Meanwhile, in the archives of God, you are supposed to use that singing as a psalmist in the kingdom of God to exalt the kingdom of God, but you are abusing. So you think that is who you are. You are not the one you are talking about. That is a distracted version of a human being. That's not you. When you know God, you know that gift being given you by God, because every gift comes from God. Nobody buys a gift to himself. If you know God, know that gift you are abusing is not actually meant for that purpose, it's meant for different purpose. Then you have found yourself. So when a prostitute now changes to be a woman of God, she has now found herself. Yes. I was watching the story of this woman of God, Tiffany Montgomery. She was managing nightclubs. And you know what that means? She was a teenage mother. It means she got pregnant as a teenage girl and gave birth to a teenage girl. So her entire life was captured within a nightclub, that business. Until she met Jesus. She's now a prophetess. Now look at it. From a nightclubs manageress, and living those kind of life. Now being transformed into the kingdom of God, which means when she met Jesus, her true identity began to be revealed. When she met Jesus, her true self, because your true self is captured in God. Satan doesn't know you, sir. No, Satan doesn't know you. No. Satan doesn't know you. He doesn't. Satan only knows how you appear. He doesn't know in the archives of what God has created for you. He doesn't know you. He doesn't know you. So when she met Jesus, her true self began to come out. That is why the more she presses into Jesus, the more of her true self she begins to know. Oh, so I can do this in God. Oh, so this one is possible too. Oh, so this one I can do this one too. So I can prophesy. Oh, so this one is possible. She begins to find herself in God every stage of the way. That is how it is with every human being. So